This is the second episode of the Hyperreal podcast. We have Leonard Luka. I said your name right, correctly?
Yeah, you can say Leonard. It's.
Leonard?
I think it's easier. Yeah, it's easier.
Well, the reason that I was not 100% sure is that I actually discovered Leonard by complete accident. I was going through a coffee shop, had just run into Dak Prescott, which slowed me down. And then as I came back into the hotel, I was staying at the Standard in New York. I heard his music and I was like, to be honest, who is this black guy that I'm listening to? So then I Shazam it and then just start listening to the music, which it was Perfume. And then I'm listening to the album and I'm like, this album is incredible. And then I go to Instagram and at first I can't find him because I was leaving the O out on the name search. But then I finally found you and did an Instagram post. And so from that Instagram post, I then actually got to connect with you and I am now getting to have you on the podcast. So I am just infinitely excited to actually have you here. So Leonard, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I really again really am really grateful that you how you find my music, but also how you decided to share it, and the reactions on your posts were really amazing. People following me, but also reacted and DM'd me. It's really, I mean, things like that. I commented on your post, like they keep me going. It's not always easy to really see what your music when it's out there, when you put it into the world,
Mm.
how it's being received, and then a lot of people think when you look at your streams or when it's also very abstract. It's just numbers. When
Mm.
people really tap into your stuff and they really follow you and say, I really like you, what you're doing, man. It gives this incredibly boost of love, this
Hmm.
which I really love, man. Yeah. So
Hundred.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up listening to your album on the plane. I think it's your latest album, Laut. Is that correct? Did I say it right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's pronounced Laut, which is an Indonesian word, which is my roots, and my parents both were born Indonesian, and they migrated to the Netherlands, where I'm from. And this is my debut album. So I released a few singles in the past, a few EPs, and this is my first album that released last November.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. You are Indonesian, raised in the Netherlands, but when
Yeah.
I was listening to your music, I felt like I was listening to someone who was maybe inspired by like a Music Soul Child, a Glenn Lewis or a Carl Thomas. Would you say like those are people that you listened to growing up? Like how did you end up like who are your inspirations for music? And like, would you say I'm on the dot in regards to kind of your sound, or what's the vibes?
I think you hit a spot there, but I think, and I mean these are amazing names, but I think
Okay.
we derive from the same like roots.
Mm.
Like my parents, they are also musicians, not professionally, but there was a lot of music when I was a child growing up, and
Mm.
my parents they didn't really tap into the new stuff. So my father is a drummer, and he kept playing these old school jazz records, but really like um I'm talking about the whole Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald. So he's really the traditional stuff. He's really into, and I always liked the piano players the most.
Mm.
And my mom, she was just really into soul, like Motown was playing all the time. Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and from there on, everything that was kind of had this black roots just echo through our household when I was growing up, and I just remember sitting at a piano when I was as a kid and just trying to find what are those chords like they have this extra this extra color to them, and really didn't know anything. My parents are not like trained musicians, so everything was on
Wow.
feel and on vibe. And so,
Wow.
yeah, I think that is what drew me to that music. And when I really started like making my own music, it always ends up, you start off even when you hear a great indie or pop rock or stuff like that, or like a groove that you like, and then I make it into my own. There is always a bit of Stevie going Prince, or the old school jazz stuff just slips right through it because I connect with the music, and I think like guys like Music Soul Child as well. That they I think they derive from the same
Yeah.
same roots. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. Do you so you live in the Netherlands, is that right?
yeah, yeah. I'm actually in the Netherlands right now.
And so, like, you
Yeah,
you recorded the entire album in the Netherlands?
yeah. So there is, yeah, almost entirely in the Netherlands, and there is one the track that you heard, Perfume. There's one great American trumpet player on it. His name is Philip Lasseter. He was the trumpet player for Prince.
Oh,
So he was
wow.
the one that really made the end really special. Like I played on his album as well, which that's how this industry, this music world works. It's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Mhm.
But like him seeing me at a performance I did, and he was like, "I want you on my album, man." It would really was kind of this acknowledgement. It's a big acknowledgement for me. This guy has heard a lot of music, and
Yeah.
I played a lot of music. So yeah, but the main process was yeah, it was in the Netherlands, and there's a lot of musicians played on it because the recording of this album was like I think in total like 3 years, 2 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it started out as, I always like to keep it open what it must become. Like maybe
Mm,
sometimes you start off like, oh, this one great track, we just do a single or an EP, and then this
mhm,
story formed when I gathered the tracks, and I was like, there are some tracks on there that I released previously as a single, but when I added them to
mhm,
the new tracks, it was like this chapter that I felt like this is something I want to get out there, which translated to the Indonesian title Laut, which means a sea, translated to English. So yeah, and it's also like you can see in the background that's the cover art,
mm.
which was drawn by a local artist here, and yeah, it all came together like the waves, and it's yeah, it's the whole immigration thing of like traveling to the Netherlands and growing up between worlds. It's yeah, it wasn't easy, but but if you can convey it to art, that's a blessing, man.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. I do feel like in I don't know if it's like this in the Netherlands, but in America, like music has gotten very well, people talking about music has gotten very reductionist. Like we try to reduce things down to a objective number or we want to talk about it from a perspective of I like it or I don't like it or whatever the case is. And I've been living in a world where I just want to try to um, connect with the music more and try to live within the perspective of the person. So you can imagine, like, I'm listening to your music initially, and my first thought is, oh man, this guy, again, like I said, I thought you were black at first before I found your Instagram, and I was just like, oh, this guy who must have grown up in like Mississippi or LA or Atlanta or something and made this great album. And then I find out that you're in the Netherlands and you're Indonesian and you're like an immigrant and all these other things. There's a it's an incredible wave to hear that someone is raised in a completely different place on very similar music and then almost has this similar experience all the way on the other side of the world and then creates this beautiful music that feels so connected to almost my own reality. And like I said, the names like listening to Glenn Lewis or Carl Thomas or Music Soul Child or just some of the others, it's like it very much reminded me of some of that same music. Some of the, it's just amazing. It was just really absolutely incredible. Let me ask you, I want to, I'm saying all that to tee up in the Netherlands and for like this sound, is there a like community that enjoys this music as well that is in the Netherlands that like just really loves this sort of, because you say that you are like a neo soul artist. So like, is there like a neo soul community there in the Netherlands?
Yeah, man. It's actually growing, and it's it has to reach the point now where um, because Netherlands is a small country, obviously, but
Mhm.
the talent
Yeah.
is unreal, and I have been working at it for, I mean, I think up 15 years now.
Mhm.
And a few years ago, I decided I want to be more involved on not only as a performer, but also trying to help these other artists grow, because that's the beautiful thing. I think it derives from jazz and soul and R&B. It's this community driven music which we all lift each other up, and I see it happening in the UK. See it happening in America. If you study the roots, there's this all these examples of artists just lifting each other up. And so we a few like 2 years ago we started this community which consists of 4 cities, like bundling our artists together and like giving them money to all together create, perform, sharing those artists in the Netherlands and hopefully like bring them overseas. It's called the Oshie
Wow.
community, which is really um, full of great vocalists,
Instrumentalist?
instrumentalists. I'm sorry,
Yeah, yeah, you good.
and producers. So, and that has given me a great sense of belonging, because we are a small country. There's also limited space, especially in the media, for this music. And
Mm,
with everything that's going on politically also in Europe right now, you see that people, especially in Netherlands, they have this mixed dynamic with their own artists. I mean, people over the past 50 years, jazz and soul and R&B has gotten some airplay or their own channel, but it always stayed in like this niche thing, which is really frustrating because there's so much talent here. I noticed immediately when we were doing this and started acting as one wave of artists, that incredible things are happening when you form a community of artists instead of like just going out on your own.
mhm.
Like share your knowledge, share your contacts. We're all in the same boat, really. It's especially in a small country, you really have to work together. Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel I feel like, especially listening to the live version of your song, I can feel the soul that exists, and I can hear just how many incredible artists there are because it's not easy to play those changes as you go through the music. Like I was playing it for a friend of mine the other day, and I was just kind of it was going, and I was like, "Oh, this is my favorite part." And it was just like, "I'm staring at your perfume," and I'm just like that just shift in the as you go into the hook is it's not it, like I think if you're not a classically trained artist at all, like I'm not trained in any capacity, but I do know how to play the piano kind of well. One of the things that's so interesting is to be able to play that together requires some level of just real skill set, especially just the way that your music is set up. I can't think of the right words. Like I was going to say, like the way that it's structured. It's not an
Yeah.
easy song by any means to play, and it's incredible to hear the sound and the people that were there in the room. That's just like absolutely incredible. I tell people all the time, we're in a golden age of music. Like the music is
Yeah.
available everywhere. 1970s, if you had been making music in the Netherlands, you probably would have had to leave and go to the US to try to get seen by Motown. But then Motown would have said, there's no space for a Indonesian Netherlands artist here. But
Yeah.
like you can actually create your own world, and like you've done in your own country, that then can actually reach people like me all the way in New York by accident, like listening in the Standard Hotel. Like how incredible is that?
Incredible, man. And I really appreciate you mentioning that it's not an easy song, but
Mm,
still drew you in as a listener,
mm,
regardless of your training or whatever. I think on some level, which I talked about my parents not being trained, but they did everything on feel and vibe.
mhm,
I studied music. I did, but then when you dive into these structures and chords and notes
mm,
and scales,
mhm,
it's I mean, it's amazing, and especially when you are fixing things, it can really help you, but, like, conveying a message, like, reaching out people's hearts, and, like, I really find it important that regardless of how well you are informed musically, that you can sense, like, "Ooh, I want to hear more of this," and it starts, like,
mhm,
this journey of curiosity. Like, I love those songs myself. That's why
mhm.
I keep coming back to the roots, and like checking out, people like Anderson Paak at the moment, which I really
Oh,
love, and but also still going back to those Stevie Michael Prince songs that draw you in on some like small groove or a snare sound that you really dig, or a sound which you can explain. And that's not the
Mm.
point of trying to explain, it's just feeling it. And then you want more of it and more of it. And I mean, it goes for painting, dancing, everything. It's just,
Yeah.
if you can, I don't like it when I work with people that are more interested in like showing their skill sets without
Mm.
saying anything with it.
Right,
And I
right, right.
think that you can fool the audience as well. Um, I sometimes I go to performances, and especially the more how do you say it, the more purist like jazz
Mhm,
scene concerts, and I'm like, I dig I dig the whole the skills. I can see the craft. I really, really, and I know how
mhm,
hard it is, but still give me a great song anytime, man. Even by people who have not been trained.
mhm,
When you find that the thing that makes your heart like jump,
mm,
and no one is interested in how many skills you can play if you can not say anything with it. So I'm writing when I'm songwriting myself, I always am very cautious of
mhm,
like trying to put myself in a listener place, like you, like if I'm walking through a hotel now, if I'm walking through a street and I'm picking this song, does it feel right? Does it, like, if you hear 3 seconds of this, can I draw you in?
mhm,
And yeah, I'm very aware of that, and it's very difficult because your whole body screams like, "Oh, I can like put this chord on as well. Oh, yeah, that's really that's really jazzy, and people are gonna respect me for using that chord."
mhm.
But if it doesn't, and you have to be honest with yourself during the whole creative process, if it doesn't add anything to the message you want to get out there, just drop it. Kill your
Yeah.
darlings.
I feel
Yeah.
that. I feel that. I think human beings were like storytelling creatures, but we're also feeling creatures. And so like
Yeah.
one of the things for my content is that there's typically two sides. There's the people who are overly intellectual and they intellectualize things and know all of the philosophy and can break down everything into this super deep concept. And then there's typically the people who then just make you feel something immediately, right? Like, and I think that's why music reviews have become so hot or cold, yes or no, because then you feel something immediately. You say, I hate it. And then people are like, yeah, I hate it too. Or I don't hate it. And now I'm going to tell you why I don't hate
Yeah.
it. But like, I think it takes a lot of time to be able to enjoy both. And like what you're describing is a love of the feeling, but also maybe understanding a little bit behind the science of the feeling in some ways. So like maybe what can be helpful is for some people, you can just you maybe aren't classically trained at all. You can enjoy sort of the feeling because you only ever know the feeling and you can't even put words to the feeling. But you've done this amazing thing where you actually can put words to the feeling, but you still love the feeling. You didn't get lost in like the science of the feeling. I think that's like the beautiful median. And it's probably why you just make such incredible music to me, at least. I absolutely love the vibes. I feel like
Oh, thank
it's
you,
an
man.
energy and a
Thank you.
frequency.
Yeah. I remember the ending of Perfume where
Mhm,
this is how amazing it is to keep bringing up these references. That the album was being mastered by
mhm,
Killing Skills, which are two great guys who have mastered my music. It's the last
mhm,
phase of any track or album,
mhm,
which a great mastering engineer can bring your record to a level that you haven't like experienced
mhm.
before. They make it, I always explain to people, they make something 2D into 3D. That's the thing with
That's
mastering
incredible.
engineers.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
the ending of the song, I wasn't feeling it, but I had like this image in my mind. I was like, how can I explain what I want? And then I could go into all this technical stuff, like, I want this particular instrument or on the hertz, on the frequencies. And I was like, move on up. I want move on up. Like Curtis Mayfield, just move on up. The ending, I want that. I want that vibe, like this energy, like pumping at the end, which lifts the whole
right.
track. And he's like, got it. He adjusted it perfectly.
Wow.
I love it when people when you have to you come from the same fabric of like you only have to say like, I want this artist or that piece of like,
Huh.
give me more Michael, give me more like Stevie on this thing. And when you're working
Right.
with great artists who really listen to a lot of stuff. You don't need all the technical stuff. They just know what you want.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, that's I love when people instantly get what you're
When people
saying.
can
Yeah, I love it.
100%. It's,
Yeah.
as you've seen in my content, like, I always roll a philosophy into anything that I create, and so when you think about, language, one of my favorite, people in the world is this guy, Paul Watzlawick. What he says is that language is a conspiracy theory. I speak, and then you pretend to know what's going on in my world, and our dream is that when we say words, that's for some reason, it's inherent to the person to be able to know what we're saying. That's why it's so difficult if you meet people in different cultures or who speak completely different languages to truly translate because it requires some level of culture. But that's where, to me, music is so amazing because if we are culturally connected, you can look at someone and say, like, I need more Stevie, or I need more Michael, or I need this to be a little bit more ethereal, or I need it to be, I need the vibe to be turned up a little bit. And that person, if you guys do share, it almost is beyond words what you're communicating because you're not saying the technical right thing. What you're saying is the what is the culturally relevant piece that's necessary for me to now understand how to capture the frequency that you are looking to have. And that's what I think is so cool about music. If we've listened to similar music, if we felt a similar vibe, then in some ways I might be able to say things that mean nothing to someone else, but will mean everything to us. I think that's just like, that's one of the coolest parts about music.
Yeah, beautifully put, man. You're right on the money. I think great music translates through all cultural barriers. What you said in the beginning. I mean, you're in New York. I'm in the Netherlands. I mean, those records when they spread overseas, it's so incredible. Like how they can break through all like the language barrier, the whole cultural barrier. I think it's a theme like human experiences. Growing up with immigrant parents in a different country is so universally recognizable, and
Mhm.
or dealing with some form of oppressing, or dealing with some form of pain, or love, or just like all the positive things. Great music. What you said of the thing about interpretation,
Uh-huh.
when you hear something and then you translate it into your own experience, right? So, a song like I heard that, you know Moses Sumney, the artist Moses Sumney?
I've heard of Moses. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I'm only bringing this example because he explained the song recently on the podcast.
Mhm.
The song is called "Plastic," and I heard this song for a long time. Was so drawn to the lyrics, and I thought like, oh man, this guy gets me. Like he's talking about love and like being like vulnerable and expose yourself to someone. Then and then I made it into my whole own story. And
Uh.
then I hear on this podcast, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's about my struggle with climate change." And, and then I'm
And you
like,
were like,
but then but still, how amazing that he brought out a vibe which I connected to. And I
yeah,
mean, that's the most important part, that it does something to you, that you can imprint it on into your own experience. And I think any songwriter or any artist wants that. I mean, it's
yeah,
just mirroring your
mhm,
thing. Doesn't matter
100%.
what I meant with it.
Yeah,
It's your experience, man. That's all
100%
what counts. Yeah.
is all that counts, man. I literally, so have you ever heard of Brent Fayez? Brent Fayez, the artist?
No, I
Oh, it's
think
all good.
no,
It's all good.
no.
It's not. He's not like within the same vein, but he's a like kind of an R&B, like we call it, like the toxic vibe of music, kind of Playboy music. But he recently came out with an album,
Okay.
and Pitchfork did a review on it. And in the review, one of the things that the person docks him on is that he didn't believe the story that he was telling. And for me personally, and my lived experience, the story made a ton of sense. And so, like, sometimes because maybe our lived experience is a little bit different than someone else's, as we're listening to the words, we might not be able to completely understand what it is. I think, especially in America, we get very caught up on what we think someone's words mean rather than understanding like the vibe or the frequency that someone's trying to put across. And so I made my own sort of version of like of a review of it, basically just saying like, if you've never experienced a thing, it doesn't mean that the person is wrong or bad or they're not really conveying the right piece of music. The person's making music because they're genuinely feeling something. And it's really like up to us to then embody it in whatever way we want to embody it. Tell it through our own story, tell it through our own journey, which is kind of what the situation was with you and Plastic. You hear Plastic in your mind, you're like, oh, this love story. I can feel the emotion and the frequency of it. And I remember going through this thing. And then you hear the artist give their journey of it, and it may be something completely different, but all that does is gives you a different perspective of the music. And now all of a sudden I can go back and re-listen from a completely different world. And I think that's
Yeah.
like, if rather than trying to be right about music, I feel like we can just enjoy it. And that's just that's the whole concept around like this Hyperreal podcast and all the content I make. Like, we don't have to be right about how we talk about art
No.
or popular culture. What we can do is just convey the message through our lens and see how we can connect with other people. I feel like
And
that's a beautiful
sometimes
thing.
sometimes a work of art, man, what you just said, absolutely perfect. I mean,
Thank-
the I was thinking while you were saying it, like the sometimes a work of art can not land with or stay with you for like you hook onto something
Mm,
way years later, or
mm,
something that I put into my, oh, I like this groove, or I like the singer or anything. I just
mhm,
save
mhm.
it. And then sometimes like 3 years later, I'm like, whoa, it's suddenly like it has been waiting for you to
Yeah,
go through something in your life or go to
yeah.
some phase where it connects with that part of you. And
Mhm.
sometimes it can also happen that you really love something for a while, then it sort of drifts away from you, and then 10 years later reconnect with it, but from a total different experience or part of your
Mm,
life. That's
mhm.
magical stuff, man. It's
It is.
Yeah, and then you listen to it very differently. I have it even with my own songs. Sometimes I listen to the tracks or that I wrote like 5 years ago, and I'm like, now I get what I was going through at the time. I thought
Mm,
I was writing something, but because you are writing from a more subconscious level
mm.
in that moment, then years later I'm hearing it back, and I'm like, I feel sorry for myself. I'm like, yo, you went through some stuff, man. But now it's because you're taking some distance from it. Yeah, it's very personal. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's what all great music is, I think.
Yeah. I think it's like we pull things out of the universe when we're making music because we're having an experience. And if you think about it, music, when you put it on the record player, it's like it goes into this groove, and that groove is where the music sort of like plays from. It's hard to even understand that that's possible, right? That you're able to imprint the music into this record. But then at the same time, I think music does that to people because our memories oftentimes are tied to emotions. So if the music makes you feel an emotion, it doesn't necessarily have to be that it was the exact same experience as yours. All it has to be is that maybe the imprint is similar, right? Like, people make fun of me all the time because I listen to Drake so much, but there's something to the way that he makes music that speaks to the way my memories
Yeah.
are set. And when I hear the music come on sometimes, it brings me back to that place. Honestly, it's the same way I felt about Perfume. As I was listening to the song, I feel like I was back into a moment in high school and college with some of the first times that I had ever fallen in love with women, just generally, because I've just lived a lot now. Maybe not as much as a 6-year-old, but regardless, I've lived a little bit now. But I just remember some of those. It reminded me personally of some of those early moments where it was like a smell that imprinted on me with someone, where it was like, if I smelled it, I'm just taken back to that moment with them. Am I like, as you put that song together, obviously it's called Perfume, so I immediately had that visualization, but that's where I ended up back at, like, some of those early dates where maybe it was the first time I had ever smelled like a whatever perfume this woman was wearing, and then because I was falling in love, every time I would smell it anywhere, I would just be like, "Oh my god, is she here?" Like, even after we broke up, it would happen every now and
Yeah.
then. I
Oh,
would just be
we've all
transported
been
back.
there. We've been there. All been there, man.
Yeah. Is that like, as you put that song together, is that the energy for you? Like, how did the song come together?
Okay, so I have to like,
Yeah,
how do you say
take
it?
it wherever.
Like,
Is there a word
pull out of
in
take it apart, like lyrically and musically.
okay, okay.
Yeah, so I have to explain this. I think because when I was putting together it musically in like raw demo form, it's just gibberish. It was like
Okay.
I loved the vibe and the chords, and I was trying to get it right. And then
Mm,
I remember like I have some versions of it like being totally different
mm,
lyrically, but just the vowels and the sounds like papa papa, like going through that u or o's or e's that I wanted
mm.
on some particular place in some particular place. I think musically it was already formed, and I like to take some time off from it and then really put something personal into that format. I work very structurally in that sense, and not always, but I like to. And with this song, I could. Like the song was already formed, and then I could just write a story into
Mm,
the musical thing.
mhm,
And I was going through a rough patch with my wife at the time
mm,
because in 1 year time, a lot of yeah, how do you say it? A lot of bad things happened, not even in our own control. But like mother was very sick. She went through a burnout for a few years,
mm.
and I remember like because we've been together for 11 years, and
Wow.
then you try to survive, right? And then um I remember like there were times where we really lost each other
Mm,
in a way that you have to draw on previous memory with like, we've been through a lot together, but sometimes it because you cannot predict the future, you're like, how can we like feeling that trust again? I think I wrote that song going through that phase
mm,
and trying to find something which reminded me of the foundation that we built through the years. And
mhm,
smell is I don't remember who said the quote, but it always stuck with me. Is like smell is the closest thing to time traveling that we have, was said once by
mm,
somebody, and I really believe that. The example that you gave about the girl wearing the perfume and forever she's like connected to that smell, and also like my mom's cooking, for instance, like I
mhm.
can smell it from a mile away, and I'm 6 years old again at a table. And um, yeah, and I think reconnecting with my wife in that way, like
Mhm.
with their smell, and then all these memories like built around a scent, which was really for me interesting to dig into. So I think that's how it all came together. Yeah.
Dude, it's like, what's crazy is hearing you even say it, it like brings like an emotion for me in general, just because I had never thought about it from the perspective of in the moments where in like your relationship where things are difficult, there sometimes isn't much to draw on in that moment of creating memories, right? Like maybe in that moment it's just difficult or hard or you're separate and you're just trying to figure out how to get through. And in that, the you now using the concept of the perfume and it's filling up your memories and things that now I'm actually using smell in the way that people think about like, holidays or being transported back to food. It could even transport you back to that space that you were in when you fell in love generally. There's so much music of falling out of love or,
Yeah.
things aren't working. And now I'm finding something new, which you're actually describing as like the ability of using smell to take me back to remembering, why we're here just generally as together, why we decided to stay together. And that's, I had never even again, like what I had said earlier, there's this, or it actually, you said it first, and then I kind of followed it up. You create this idea and this vibe of the music and your own story of it and what you think it must mean. And then you finally get to hear it from the artist, and you're like, wow, I had never even thought of that angle at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. But it's
Then you're like,
so
it's so cool.
amazing that, yeah, it's so amazing hearing your interpretation. It really, it's to me, that's the most unreal thing, that you have this high school memory connecting to my song. I mean, that's everything to me, man. That's so, I don't know, man. It's what make what yeah what making music is all about, I think. Yeah.
Man, it's
Thank you
like,
for sharing. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing.
no,
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing. Thank you for being willing to even be in a part of this. And I feel like this is the lost art in music. Like there's such a rush, especially for like let's just say popular music, because like the people will rush to then give reviews. It's like we didn't sit with the music at all. The artist hasn't even had an opportunity to talk about what it meant to them, why they made it, what space they were in, where they recorded, who they recorded with, like what it was like writing. And then we give this very quick number of saying this is what it is, but in actuality, like the music is infinite. It's beyond just the concept of almost like, for lack of better words, an objective number in comparison to all other music. Like saying 1 to 10, like what does that mean? You know,
Yeah.
that's for a race. That's for a basketball game. Like, yeah, who scored the most points at the end? But there's not a need for that, I feel like, with music. I feel like there's more of a need of just taking a minute to say, okay, I enjoyed this music. How can I maybe even learn more facets about it? How can I get more perspectives about it? That's the space that I hope to create, which I feel like even just doing this right now, I can really see just even how this can expand even further because it's a different way to even enjoy the music. I'm so excited about the fact that I get to go listen back to Perfume in this way, because I had a whole perspective on it the first time I listened to it, and now I can
Yeah.
just feel that I'm going to feel something completely different the next time I listen. That's so amazing.
Oh man, that's so great to hear. I mean, it's like discovering layers of a work of art is one of the
Mhm.
most exciting things because it's I want to throw back on I don't know if you have
Yeah.
much time
You
left
have
or
more
we
time.
can keep
You have
going.
time.
Okay.
100%.
So, okay, cool, cool. So what you were saying about like playing a numbers game or like artists like really diving into their personal experiences when creating, this is what young artists really deal with. Like when I was trying to help building this community, you get in contact with a lot of like younger people. Like I'm 34
Mhm.
myself, so I've great age.
Yeah.
And I remember like when just started making my first like single or EP, it was a whole different landscape. It was before COVID. It was like Facebook was the whole thing back then. It was
Mhm.
like radio was still in the Netherlands, especially was like, oh, if you're on the radio, then great,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
you got it made. So
Mhm. Mhm.
and now with with obviously streaming and social media, it's a blessing and also it's something. So we have to learn how to deal with like the gray area is being really is really big right now. What good music or like time, how do you say, when creating something special, you want to
Mhm.
take your time, you want to experiment. And a
Mhm.
lot of young artists, they are not given the time because
Mhm.
I already felt it in my journey. Like when you get some airplay or you get some party interested in you, working with labels, they
Mhm.
are like instantly going to your followers, going to your streams, and it's like this chicken egg story of what comes first. How can I
Mhm.
be a great artist
Mhm.
when I
Mhm.
haven't released anything major? But
Mm.
you want me to expect to make something great and then and also have an audience to build on. And
Mm.
it's really difficult to navigate it sometimes. And I love coaching younger artists as well, like helping them.
Mhm.
And taking that patience, not having that patience, but taking the patience to really sit down, turn off your devices, really just take some paper and a pen and just write about your day, write about what you're going through at the moment,
Mhm.
or like using your dictaphone. I do this all the time, like some thought forming in my head, just humming something. I just lock it away, go to my studio, and like, what am I trying to say from a different perspective? Having these conversations with yourself and
Mhm.
taking time for them. I
Mhm.
mean, it takes a longer time to create something, but like hearing you talk about Perfume, that for me was like, oh, it's so worth like taking your time because I had sometimes during the making of that track and during the album, I was like, I really want to finish this, man. I really have
Mhm.
to. Oh, you're getting you're hearing it for the 300th time,
Yeah.
but it's when you have the feeling you're getting something out there that you have put
Mhm.
everything you got, it's all worth it. And you have to take your time. You have to be confident enough, also in a writing session with other people, to say like, I'm going to take this home now and really do this alone, and then come
Mm,
back and telling you guys a story. If you connect with this, I'm connecting with this, then
mm,
the whole world can connect with this. But it's in that order. You have to connect with it yourself first. If you don't, and that's why I can relate to some of the critics, critics. But it's like I do get the thing. Like, do you believe it? What you're saying? There's something to be said for that. But still, you have to be honest with yourself. I
mhm.
think when you're making something like, and it can feel scary, it can be very vulnerable, like telling you the story of what my wife and I went through. It's not that long ago, but
Yeah,
still, it's a general human experience, I think.
100%.
And it's important that people can maybe draw some, how do you say it? Some trust from it, some love
Mhm.
from it, some comfort, some solace. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one of the number one question I get from people when they DM me about my content is wanting to know how to make content like I do. And the number one thing I say to them is you just have to experience life generally. Like the reason I'm able to pull so many different concepts and ideas together is the amount of books I've read, mixed with the amount of music I've listened to, mixed with the amount of experiences I've had. Some people become such a philosophizer that they can theoretically talk about a situation, but they've not experienced it in any capacity. The same thing can happen with music. If you just sit with the music all the time and you decide, hey, I'm not going to go live my life, I'm just going to make music, well, now you've missed out on the opportunity to potentially convey an experience because you haven't experienced it. And I think the best musicians or artists or content creators are people who've experienced a lot. So now they are connected to people in the way of the experience. And then they also took the time to do the work because now you now have this medium by which you can now convey the experience that you've had. I think too often we're trying to figure out how to do one or the other. It's like, I'm just going to go experience life and I just want to experience and I don't want to work on my craft, or I'm only going to work on my craft and then I'm going to, experience later. Well, I think the best people end up doing both because now they're conveying both in an absolutely incredible way that then connects with someone beyond words, right? It's that thing, it creates the energy, the vibe, the frequency for their life because they've also experienced something similarly. I think that's just the best way to I tell people that's just to me is how I got to the creative space that I'm in now. It was all of them. It wasn't just time. Time was the variable I needed because I've been doing it for like 10 years now. But in that 10 years, I worked at it, and then I just stayed consistent every day. And that turned into now me being able to make content like I did, where all of a sudden it touches people in a different way and helps elevate artists or helps elevate an idea or a philosophy or a theory that otherwise maybe someone else can't communicate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the consistency, what you mentioned is very, very important. I mean,
Mm,
I can learn a great deal from like how consistent you are with your content for
mm,
as an artist, because you were, when I discovered like I wanted to make music and I want to learn everything in my power to make that music, something that wasn't really part of the resume like 15 years ago was like creating content constantly about your process, about what you were saying. But it's also an opportunity, right? So you have to embrace it. It is a time we live in, and being consistent with it, being consistent with also living, with performing, with it. I mean, you're only human, right? So it takes a lot of time. But I think you said something really important there. It's like, you just have to go for it and be consistent. And then
mm,
it doesn't matter if it's never perfect. I mean, and
mm,
what is that even perfect? It's you, and you get better at it by doing it. So being consistent, like I meet a lot of young artists, who say like, yeah, they have this, I hear a demo or something, and they're like, yeah, I got to study more, and or I got to, it's not good enough. And I'm like, what's not good about it? And then they come up with all this technical stuff, or like all these excuses of what, because they heard an artist like, or having this big studio that they don't have. And
mm.
I mean, it's just about we live in a golden age, what you just said. All
Hmm.
you need these days is just, I mean, just having an iPhone or just having a laptop, and
Yeah.
you can create universes with it, and just be you.
Hmm.
And that's the most difficult part, because you want you have all these how do you say it? You have all these references. My reference, when I was what I was telling you in the beginning with creating, I still remember like the record collection from my parents, like this closet where the still when I start writing, I always think about that particular closet. Like when before I could read, I was like picking out like vinyl, or like you choose something. They always said you choose something you like. And then I was like, "Oh, I like the color of this, or like the artwork." I didn't even know the artist, and having that yeah, how do you say that? That space, you can
Hmm.
literally translate it into later life into something that you can fill with books, what you said, with documentaries, with people, something that excites you, all things that you are curious about. You can make your own like closet and pick from that every time you go at it. I mean, I have been uncertain, especially when you're doing this longer for like 10 years plus. You get uncertain from time to time. You're like, oh, I haven't performed in a while. I haven't like made or wrote something in a while. Or maybe you recognize it with your content or with your writing. You're like, man, life has gotten into the way. But it's so important that what you just said, like, no, it hasn't gotten in the way. You're going
Hmm.
right through it.
Hmm.
Live this right now. Experience the whole thing. And when you accept that and you're going back at it, whoa, then everything you make is like 100 times more powerful, more grounded, because you have been going through a human experience, and embrace it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all we have, really.
Yeah.
It's all we have.
100%, man. I literally am reading a book right now called Man the Manipulator. And one of the things that it talks about is too often we treat humans like objects, where you are an object of something for me, husband, wife, cousin. And that those words then equate to what you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be. And it's not, or, and even like deeper than that, employee, employer, your CEO, your musician. And then we then create a cadence of what that person is supposed to be to us, and we never really connect at a soul level. And it talks about basically becoming an actualized human being, where then you and I are connecting at a deeper level, where we're actually trying to connect at it. Again, for lack of better words, like at the soul. It's not just about playing a game or manipulating each other. It's about how do we actually deeply connect. In a world where you're so focused on making money or getting the things that you need, it doesn't make sense to do that. But as we look at the world and the way that we've grown and the things that are happening to people, I think there's more proof that those things do matter, that connecting with people truthfully, truly, and being seen truly for who you are really does matter. I think that like we're just realizing, hey, we're not just objects. We're not just meant to be acting out certain roles and then we die. I think there's something deeper to the connecting that we have. I want to just ask you a couple questions if that's cool,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
of
think
course.
for
Yeah,
artists, what is an
yeah.
album that you can't live without?
That I can't live without.
Yeah, this is
Oh
I
man,
dropped you on a dropped you in the
this is
middle of a
these.
desert. You only have one album for the
Yeah,
time being.
I've gotten these questions before in other interviews. I always give a different answer. I'll be
Okay,
honest with
yeah,
you,
yeah.
because that's my only chance of like. I mean,
You know what? Let me actually backtrack. Let me ask, I think, a better question, because I think it depends on something. If you could only listen to an album in the car for the rest of your life, so only one album for it riding in the car, what would you listen to?
car.
Mhm,
It has to be something that has a spectrum of like everything I like,
mhm.
just instrumentally, lyrically, off the wall,
Off the wall? Hey,
off the wall.
yeah.
I mean, the maybe no, I'm gonna go with Earth, Wind and Fire.
Earth, Wind& and Fire.
Now I'm taking my time. I think I am the album. I am, because that was the first band for me that had everything.
Mm.
I saw them live when I was really young. They came to the Netherlands. Yeah, and it was also a shared experience with my mother, because she was a big fan of Earth, Wind& and
Mhm,
Fire, and we were like, we can go to this together. And the fun thing, when I talk about this concert, I meet a lot of people who went with their parents as well, because it was
mm.
this bonding like between generations, and everything they talking about difficult, music, but also very accessible in feel and vibe. And I can listen to their records and they just make a bad day, turn it into a great day. I mean, off the wall also, but because I have this concert to it and all
Yeah,
those memories from it, gonna go with EWF. Yeah, they are my
yeah, I feel that. It's like a muse for you, 100%.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah.
What's next for you in music? Are you gonna make another album? Are you doing any kinda, like, playing anywhere? Like, what's the vibe? What's next for you?
Actually, I'm like this year and the next year I've some international plans coming up because I already told you like Netherlands is a small country, and I have been like asking myself like what do you really want out of like your music career at this moment? What makes you really happy? And in the Netherlands, it's I've done a lot of things that really I'm really grateful for. Met a lot of people, seen a lot of stages, but traveling, I really love traveling. It's
Oh, yeah.
just the whole cultural, like talking about filling your whole soul and
Mhm.
head with experiences and inspiration.
Mm.
So I'm going to Japan in May,
Wow.
and yeah, and I'm actually in talks with releasing music there.
Wow.
And next year, I already have an album just already completed. It's a bit of a funny workaround. Normally, you go from album to album in a
Mm,
chronological way. But now I have finished an album, and there's a Berlin-based label who is really interested in releasing it. And
mm,
for me, it's because I normally release music myself.
mhm,
For me, it's I was like, I really want to meet a new audience, like introduce myself to
mhm.
new audiences. So this is helping me out, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, man.
So, but they said like we can release it next year, like to
Okay.
2027.
Uh-huh.
I made this album with a great trio, like a jazz hip hop trio called Multibeat. Go check them out.
Mm,
They're really amazing, but they normally make instrumental music. And they
mm,
also from the same place as I am, Utrecht in the Netherlands. And we made
mhm.
an album together, like written in 1 week, which I really want to share with you.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious what you think of that. But that's going to release in 2027, which
Uh-huh.
opened my whole agenda for this year.
Mm,
And now I'm like, going to Japan anyway. Let's make an EP or make a few singles and just
mhm,
find a party who wants to release it there in Japan.
mhm.
And so these conversations are happening now. So I'm really excited for what's coming up.
I'm excited for you, man. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
can't wait to hear more music. If they're so someone who's watching this podcast, wherever they are about to pick up your music, where should they start in your mind? What's the song or album? What would you say is the best way to get started with your music?
I think the Laut album, because it also contains a few singles that are from 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Crossfield, that's the one that drew some attention here. It was the first single who drew some
Mhm.
attention in the Netherlands here.
Okay, okay.
It's about my whole journey, like going to Indonesia and going tracing my parents' roots. And
Mm,
but you can, I think, when you listen to the Loud album from like start to finish, that's my whole like DNA, musical DNA from
mm.
the past 10 years. So that's why I'm exciting for the new chapters, but this one catches my yeah, everything I am up until now, may I
Mhm.
add.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause it only grows. We're not the same. It's like
Exactly, exactly.
one of my favorite quotes is, "You are not the same person you were 5 seconds ago, so don't hold yourself to that standard," you know? It's every
Wow.
moment. After this podcast, we're different people. I'm a different person for sure. I know that for an absolute fact. I don't even know what I was before I started this. I can't remember, but it's like every
It's
second of
powerful,
every day
man.
you're changing. Yeah, yeah, 100%, man.
That's powerful.
Um,
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
100%, man. So if people want to connect with you, what is the best way? Is it Instagram, TikTok? What's the
Yeah, so I'm primarily active on Instagram.
Mhm,
You can, of course, follow me on the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, the
mhm,
whole thing.
mhm,
But yeah, I'm going to be I'm working on actually I got really inspired by looking at creators like you. Like how can I show more of my process? So
mhm,
with the new albums coming out or EPs albums coming out, I am going to create some more content this year, which
okay,
is going to be more consistent. I
okay.
promise you guys. But
Oh,
it's yeah, it's so Instagram for me is at the moment the main one. But I'm thinking about like writing. I have some ambitions as well. Like I'm dabbling with the Patreon and with a book
mhm,
that I have in my head.
mhm.
But all in good time. So it's now
Oh,
for now. It's if you want to see what I'm up to, yeah, hit the
awesome.
Instagram and then you'll see. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a transformational conversation. I don't know how many people will get to see it, but if you end up getting to watch it all the way through, I think no one will be the same artist, content creator, human being that they were before they got started.
That would be amazing, man. And I appreciate you doing this and also bring the platform to for artists like me. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
I think hopefully I'm sorry, not I'm working on not saying I think or hopefully. So let me remove both those words. I believe that through the content that I'm creating, people can reconnect with music, not just to say I like it or don't like it or give it a number scale, but instead just realize that it's all amazing. So that someone who's enjoying my content that likes Drake is also going to be like, I love Leonard Luka and I love, I love all types of music and I can see what I can learn and grow from the music rather than just listening to try to, say I like or don't like. So that's my goal to make all of the music more connected and for people to be able to see a little bit more of themselves in all of it. So I think you're an easy person to connect with. So this is going to be pretty incredible for sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really showing and great platform. And I wish you all the best. And
Thank you so much, man.
I'm gonna read your book. I'm gonna read your
Thank you.
book. Yeah, I
That means
saw
a
that
lot.
you wrote one. Yeah, gonna read it.
All right. Well, thank you,
Especially after this conversation, because now I know how you think more.
man.
So I'm gonna read it through that lens. And now yeah, I can't wait, man. Yeah,
Awesome,
I'll
man.
let
Well,
you
thank
know.
you. Well,
Yeah.
this is the Hyper Real podcast. We had Leonard Luka today, an absolutely incredible generational artist who has made some incredible music. As you heard, he's got some new music coming out, but if you have time, make sure to check out the album. My favorite song is Perfume, but I think that you're going to love everything about it. So thank you so much again for joining us, Leonard. And until next time.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.